So we said earlier this idea, more transformation, more magic, and kind of presencing when we think it's our intuition and then something goes wrong. And then we're like, I thought this was my intuition, but maybe people don't want Liz Gilbert or whatever it is, right? And how we're designed as humans and this journey from being in our magic. How many of you can remember being young and having your inner knowing so present? Like you just saw things, you knew things, you loved on people, and you just did it with wild abandon before someone said, what did your mama say?
You do not say things like that.
Right.
True things. You do not say true things like that.
Pretend, perform, please. Yeah. And then we start to develop these barriers. I love this quote by Debbie Ford. She has this part in her book. How many of you know Debbie Ford, the late Debbie Ford? She was like an innovator in this world, where she talked about we were all born as big, beautiful castles. And then one by one, people came over and visited our castle and said, oh, I don't know. I think that's too green. Or, oh, I think like that's a little loud. And we start to shut the doors to all of these rooms. And pretty soon, she says, we forget that we were once a beautiful castle and we think we're just a 2-room shack. You know, however many rooms your castle has at this point, there's some rooms in there that if you just opened the door, you would be more of a natural. So I was thinking about, you know, we have this, I've been teaching the anatomy of a transformation for a while, and then the magics came through, and it's like, in my world, they go together hand in hand. And for you, for your clients, the more shifts they have, the more they'll be naturally tuned in to who they are and what they know. So I created a little drawing to demonstrate this, and we'll just kind of riff on it.
Okay.
I created it myself. So someday we'll have Nico on our team make it pretty, but just bear with my stick figures here. So imagine this is you. I imagine source up here, not like an old man, you know, with a white beard, but just energetic connection to source, right? Or all that is. And there's you. Now, if you came to Earth from the all that is, you come into Earth through your parents into this body, right? And then you just had access to all that is, that would be sort of boring, right? It's like, well, why come to Earth? So we don't really have access to all in that way, or we wouldn't want to. But what's true is there are aspects of source that are authentic to us. I could say about Ashlie, Ashlie's playful. Like that is an authentic part of Ashlie, right? Ashlie is movement. And that's a part of that clearly you came here to express in this life.
Yes.
And if I said grouchy, that would definitely not be an Ashlie.
Not so much.
Right? So there's these aspects or energies that you came here to express to serve your purpose. How many of you know you've uncovered some of those over the years?
Yeah. Like it's a part, and it's like an essential part of your soul essence, we could call it, right?
So that's you. And you have connection to those. And these are some of mine that my sourced energies that I've integrated over the years of this event even. So I thought I would share that there. Right. So the authentic part of you, sensation magic, compassion magic would maybe be a part of it as well. If it was just like that, it would be easy, right? When we're kids, we just express how we were, just easy, because there's no judgment. We still have access to all of those. And when we have access to all of those, when someone comes in or something comes in, it's a stick person, but it could be a person or an opportunity or a location or a type of client or
idea.
Yeah, exactly. If we have access to what's authentic to us, when the thing comes in, we immediately can go match, no match, and then we choose. Right? It's like, oh, that resonates with this aspect of me that feels alive. Yes, match. Oh, nope, that doesn't seem like that's not a scenario I'm here to play with in this life, in this body, in this time. No match, right? And it's easy. But what happens instead, right, is someone comes in and they say, no, I don't like this. I don't like this piece. I don't like that piece. and they
Too
judge
loud.
it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't say that here. Ashlie, Nicole.
We do not.
And then we judge those, right? And we shut off our access to that. We decide that's not okay. And pretty soon, different people have judged different things. And now we're just a fraction of who we once were.
Just like the castle, right? Here you are, all that is this castle, and you've got 2 rooms available to you.
So these are our default energy patterns, right? So one of the pre-work videos, we talked about default energy and sourced energy. And our default is just a way of being that's actually incongruent with who we came here to be, but it helped us survive this judgment.
Mm.
If I'm too truthful, then I'm out.
Direct. Yeah.
And so it is, right? And so we go through life like this with all, parts of ourselves missing. And then something comes in, a person, a place, an opportunity, and we don't know. We question, is this a match? Is this not a match? Did my intuition draw this in, or is this my ego? Yes, sound familiar?
It's all foggy.
Hear this so often, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this scenario, we might miss an opportunity because we can't see it. And then we think there are no clients.
Mm-hmm.
There's no client. Where do I find clients? And meanwhile, people are like, I love what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you asked me to buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when we're blocked off, we're like, oh, there's no matches anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, we only see what's a match for what we've already accepted as reality, which is some disillusioned version based on a past survival strategy, right? So we only see what matches with our perception, which is clouded.
Or the other way, we're clouded.
It's a match.
And we think, oh, that's a match.
It's a match for my dysfunction.
That's a match for my dysfunction.
I married him.
Exactly. It's a match for my default energy pattern, right? And then the issue is we think this is bad, but it's not bad. But here we go. So we think this is a love match, but it's not a love match, right? And then this person, situation, place, job, client, business idea. How many of you have gone down a rabbit hole of a new business idea, a new message, a new marketing campaign that seemed like the answer? And then it's like, oh, shit, I'm still in the same place. Right. And we think it's a love match, but really it's a match for our default. So if our default is, ooh, I love figuring things out. And someone comes in and says, figure out how to build a marketing funnel. And you're like, oh, yay, I love figuring things out. Now we've gone and figured the whole thing out, but it wasn't a match for our soul. And we're in the same place, right? But we got to figure it out. And that was a match for our default. By the way, I have these lightning earrings in today that match my slide. Then shit happens, right? Like lightning.
Life keeps life.
Something will happen in this dynamic with this person, place, or thing or situation that we've called in. And we think, oh, I fucked it up. Anybody been there? How did I miss that? How did I miss that? But guess what? If we can hold this, right, we call this a sourced experience, by the way. So you can either have a sourced experience that's held, or you can have the kind that comes in like a lightning bolt. And we've all had them. But here's what's great. That happens, and all of a sudden we see that default. If we're trained in transformation, the thing shows up and we get curious. Oh, I'm curious why I'm having this experience. Maybe after we pick ourselves up off the floor, right? And then we go, oh, now I see. I see. I was unable to receive love. And so I attracted the exact person who couldn't give it to me. Or I was judged for being a ball of love. So I attracted a person who couldn't be with that, right? Who judged me in the same way that I felt judged by my parents. Right. But now we get to see it. So what a beautiful gift that person is. That situation is, because now we get access to seeing the default, and then we can remove it. We can shift it, release, receive, rise. Ideally in a container with someone who can help us tease out the nuances. So it's not just an insight that we just had that one time. And then we don't need that person, place, or situation anymore. And we make space for what is a match.
Soul match.
And then what's great is once we move one default, like sometimes, several of those little barriers pop off just like that because we're in such an expansive energy. It's like, oh, right. Because now we're up there with access to all that is. And we're like, oh, maybe I'm that. And maybe I'm that. And let me open these channels, right? And we become more and more open over time. And this is the transformation. God, I pulled a card for this event and it talked about if we can bear the moment of embarrassment when we realize that it didn't use this language, but when we realize that we made a decision that was a no match, again, maybe, if we can bear that moment of embarrassment, everything's about to shift.
Well, that sounds like if we're willing to see the shadow, we're unstoppable.
Exactly.
That's seeing the shadow, right? Who's had an insight into some aspect of themselves that made them want to completely crawl under the table and hide. It was such bad news, but it's like, if you can be with that and experience that, then you just keep creating and keep going.
And that process is the transformation. That's all it is. Restoring more pieces of ourselves. And you're the expert that can help hold that and move someone through the stages. Default in, sourced out, more access to who you are. Now, imagine this. You create space for the match and the match comes in. Yay! And this time, not only are they a match for what you know about yourself, but they actually see parts of you haven't seen. Who's been in the space of someone who sees you, like the parts of you haven't seen. So they're seeing that little shape of you that you don't even have access to right now, but they see it, right? Because their magic is open. And all of a sudden you start to say, oh, maybe I am that. Maybe I am a badass legacy builder. Could I be? And you look here and maybe you move this.
Thank all that is holy for people that can see those things in us. Yeah. Before we see them ourselves. That's who you are for people, right?
That's who you are for people. There's various ways your magic helps people see what they haven't seen about themselves, help them see the capital T truth and the small t truth, which is that little black line about how they've been showing up, right? We're all showing up in perfect alignment with how we were trained to show up. And just sometimes it's not really aligned with what we're committed to. And so whether life happens, right, for your client, and it's a situation that seems bad, and you can hold the space and say, okay, I get that this bad thing is happening. And I'm curious, what might it be showing you? Curious, how did this feel like a match when it wasn't a match? With no judgment. This is the key, right? It's not like, oh, you dumbass, why'd you match with that? Right? No, I have my mom for that. My mom can do that for me. But it's really like, I never liked them anyway, right? Oh, thank you. That's so helpful. The people who can hold space for, oh yeah, I see that. That was a no match. Great. Let's learn from it. Let's open up the channel for more matches. Or the people who can see you even before the shit happens, right? And go, oh, I see that aspect of your soul. Let's pull that forward. How does that feel when you try it on, right? Yeah. What small t truth that's based on a lie do you need to release in order to see yourself the way I see you? And let's work with that.
Yeah.
That's you. This is who we consider a magical sourced leader.
Which, can I say something about that real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slides can come down.
We're going to be talking a lot about source leader, right? We said you're seeing a demonstration of what it is to be a source leader, and we're going to be talking about source leadership. And I just want to name, we have a program in which we train people in this kind of leadership. I really firmly believe that a new paradigm of leadership is called for. The demands and concerns and things that we have that we're dealing with in the world going to require a set of skills that are distinct from leadership as we've known it, right? It's not hierarchical. It's not some middle-aged white man who is kind of got the given advantage. There's a whole shift that's happening, and it's going to take a set of skills and capacities that we train people in that are going to be necessary. So we're going to talk about source leader, And when I say that, or we're talking about that, it doesn't just mean, you wouldn't have to go through our program and get that sort of stamp to be that. In so many ways, you already are, and you're demonstrating source leadership in your life, I'm sure. So I want to just create that as a bigger, broader distinction. And we'll also be bringing forward the distinction that we call sourced leader as given by this body of work. So you can listen from and hold both of those like in that way.
Yeah.